Welcome to Dictators v Democrats. I am Theo Althorpe Mullis. Imagine fighting for freedom and then having to flee your home country to a land you believe is safe, only for tyranny to follow you. To have to constantly look over your shoulder, watch where you go, be careful who you talk to, worry about your family, all for wanting to live free. And that's the world of transnational repression, and Britain is becoming a hunting ground for it. Transnational repression describes how authoritarian states attack their critics abroad. And in Britain, it's a growing concern. A new Joint Committee on Human Rights report reveals that MI5 investigations into these cases have risen by 48% in a year. Adil Raja, a Pakistani journalist and a former military officer, has been sued by a Pakistani intelligence-linked officer for things he said online. He has been sued in British courts and now awaits a verdict. The case has been recognised by the UK's National Union of Journalists as an example of transnational repression. And Chloe Chung, a 20-year-old Hong Konger in the UK, now also lives under threat. Chinese authorities placed a $1 million Hong Kong bounty on her head, and she is one of many. She says, "They want us to live in fear. They will chase us to the end of the earth." Another Hong Konger, Carmen Lau, has accused British police of asking her to self-censor. She alleges that police requested her to cease any activity that is likely to put you at risk and avoid attending public gatherings, and these would include protests. Talking to journalists, she said, "It's alarming that instead of safeguarding my right to speak and gather freely in the UK, the response shifts responsibility onto me to limit my basic freedoms in the face of China's transnational repression." And she added, "In effect, this mirrors the very outcome the Chinese and Hong Kong authorities are seeking, silencing dissent through fear and isolation. A truly democratic response should centre on protecting the rights of those targeted, not advising them to retreat from public life." And she moved to the UK in 2021 and was asked to sign this formal agreement by police after her neighbours were sent letters offering £100,000 to inform on her. She is also an activist wanted by China. And despite the threats, the UK government hasn't placed China on its enhanced tier list. The committee warns that this undermines the credibility of Britain's protections. And when dissidents feel unsafe even in exile, free speech doesn't travel. A democracy that fails to protect those who flee repression becomes complicit in their silence. And the committee urges action, clear classifications, real protections, and a foreign policy that prioritizes people and our democratic values. Not only that, but it protects our citizens from the growing spectre of this repression, because first they'll come for the dissidents, and then they'll come for us. So what does the committee recommend? 1. Classify China under the enhanced tier. 2. Improve police and MI5 protection for dissidents. And 3. Make dissident safety a priority in our foreign and domestic policy. Because the stories are chilling. Spyware, intimidation, family members targeted back home, and even abduction and kidnapping taking place here. I mean, look at this video from 2022. This is a report from Reuters.
UK police are investigating the apparent assault of a Hong Kong pro-democracy protester who was pulled into Chinese consular grounds and beaten. The incident happened during a demonstration against Chinese President Xi Jinping on Sunday in the city of Manchester in northwest England. In a video posted online by the BBC, a man in a black cap and a ponytail can be seen being hauled by several men through a gate into Chinese consular grounds. The protester, known as Bob, is then kicked and punched by 5 men as he lies on the floor. Police at the scene eventually step in to free him. A Greater Manchester police spokesperson told Reuters police inquiries were ongoing into the circumstances. They added that their officers responded immediately to defuse the situation. Speaking after the incident to the BBC, Bob, who has recently emigrated from Hong Kong, said the protest was peaceful.
幾個嗰啲大陸佬走出嚟咁啊，燒毀我哋啲物品啦，跟住中途咧
Several people from the Chinese consulate came out and destroyed our belongings. When we tried to stop them, they dragged me in and then punched and kicked me. Later, the British police pulled me out again. It's unreasonable and should not be done, because we have the freedom to express things. This is the reason why we came out to protest. The so-called government of Hong Kong says we are thugs. What are people in your government in China doing now? Who are the thugs? We are a peaceful demonstration. Why beat us?
做啲乜嘢呢？邊個先係暴徒呢？我哋係一個和平示威，點解要打我哋？
Britain's Foreign Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. In a post on Twitter, Alicia Kearns, a Conservative Member of Parliament and head of the Foreign Affairs Committee, has called on the Chinese ambassador to be summoned. The Chinese consulate in Manchester offered no immediate reply to requests from Reuters for comment. But at a news conference in Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin told reporters he wasn't aware of the situation. He added the Chinese embassy and consulate in the UK always abide by the laws of their host country. A friend of the man involved, who was also at the scene, said Bob had been left with cuts and bruises to his face and went to hospital for treatment.
And that kind of thing doesn't just happen out in the public like that. That is an aberration. That is bizarre. This, though, is what the Chinese state would do to all pro-Hong Kong, pro-Tibet, pro-Taiwan or Uyghur activists in the UK if they could. And they are doing it as much as they can, just in the shadows. We've seen so-called Chinese police stations crop up around the West, including in the UK. These hosted Chinese officers and were the subject of serious criticism because they were essentially an arm of a foreign state in the UK illegally to track dissidents and to track their own citizens living here who may not even be speaking out against China. And there are many, many thousands Chinese students in the UK which do not face much in the way of protection from the British state if they were to speak out. Now, the police stations in the UK have allegedly been closed, but what we're seeing is clear that these activities haven't ceased, and our response to them is weak. I recall being told by a colleague while researching my PhD proposal into geocriminality, which China does engage in, that I should expect interference, that I should, in his words, expect an invitation to a very nice restaurant where I would sit and talk with somebody who's middle of the road, a Chinese academic of some sort, and I would likely be photographed. And this is unacceptable. As a democracy, the UK must be a place of refuge and not another arena for authoritarians to practice their repressions. And diaspora groups, journalists like myself, and citizens, we must demand more and shine a light on these cases, call for action, and pressure Parliament to protect the people already here. Because in doing so, you protect yourself, you protect your free speech, you protect your right to live free in a democratic country. Because it's not just about the dissidents. It's about you and I. And it's about our right to say what we want to say in a free world. This world is interconnected, and authoritarian regimes can and do reach across borders with precision. So, Britain must decide, are we a fortress for the free or a butler for tyrants? Please subscribe, share, stand with those that they want to silence. Write to your Member of Parliament and remember, democracy is non-negotiable.